Lion's mane is one of the most popular, profitable, and highest yielding gourmet mushrooms that you need on your farm. And I'm gonna go into the details on how to grow it and why it's so valuable for your mushroom farm. What's up, mushroom fam? It's Gary with Fresh from the Farm Fungi. I'm here in Sedalia, Colorado at my mushroom farm, and today I'm going to talk about Hericium erinaceus, also known as lion's mane mushroom. So I have a special heirloom strain in the description below. It's from Niagara Falls, New York, and it has the perfect blend of density and that characteristic teeth that you often see on lion's mane mushrooms. This mushroom is incredibly popular today. It has gained its popularity because of the nutritional benefits of this mushroom. It's a great meat substitute, especially for vegans and vegetarians out there. It has a really long shelf life, and it's adaptable to a lot of different environments and very easy to grow. My history with lion's mane mushroom kind of started about a decade ago. My mentor, Anthony DeFranco at Niagara Falls Mushrooms, gifted me this strain right when I started growing mushrooms. So he had been growing it for about a decade and was very into lion's mane mushroom. I didn't even know that this mushroom existed when I went to go tour his farm all those years ago. And I was very impressed with the shelf life and with the flavor and texture of this mushroom, which is very similar to crab or lobster. There's a lot of different customers for lion's mane. The chefs at higher end restaurants really demand high quality lion's mane. My mentor, Anthony, would sell his lion's mane a lot to the different casinos around Niagara Falls, where there's chefs that are cooking for high-end steakhouses. It's very popular at the farmers markets for home chefs or with customers that are looking for good meat replacements. And it's also very popular these days in the supplement market. When I first started growing mushrooms, I also used to sell lion's mane direct to consumer a lot. So they would come to my house just to buy lion's mane mushroom because it's so rare at the grocery stores. It's a very good niche mushroom, especially for a new gourmet or craft mushroom farm. One of the most valuable aspects about lion's mane mushroom is how highly adaptable it is to different substrates. So I think that the best substrate, like a lot of the gourmet mushrooms, is Master's Mix. So that's a 50-50 blend between oak hardwood pellets and soy hulls. It's incredibly high yielding on that substrate. But one of the benefits is that it also can do really well on unsupplemented hardwood. It does really well on straw, as long as it's hydrated properly. So it can really be added to most mushroom farms, except if you're only using compost. Another aspect about lion's mane is that it's very good with liquid culture for fast production. So if you want a fast turnaround time on your mushroom farm, I recommend using a liquid culture and going into oats or wheat. Lion's mane is a unique mushroom in the fact that it does really well in ultrasonic misting humidification systems, as opposed to the high pressure misting systems that some of the larger scale farms use. This will give you an advantage against some of the larger farms because the high pressure mister is more efficient, but the lion's mane mushroom doesn't respond as well to the higher pressure misting as the ultrasonic mist. So another characteristic of lion's mane mushroom is that it's not going to behave like typical mycelium on grain spawn. I often get a lot of questions about people who inoculate their grains with the lion's mane liquid culture saying that they're not getting any growth, but this is just because it's very wispy in nature compared to other mycelium like oyster mushrooms, and it's hard to detect for a few days when you inoculate it onto your grain spawn. So don't wait too long. If you start to see pinning or if the mycelium is already thickening up, this is going to create a bitter mushroom. So that's my pro tip, is you want to make sure that you inoculate your bulk substrate while the mycelium is colonized but still pretty wispy, which is unique to lion's mane. Another characteristic that's pretty unique to lion's mane is that it requires more space than most of the top fruiting mushrooms. So I like to space my lion's mane kind of intermittently on my shelving, and that's because they're so sensitive to CO2. So if you have high CO2 environment, you're gonna get really laggy and ugly looking fruits. So in order to get a really beautiful lion's mane, you have to space your blocks out. However, the high yield of this strain will make up for that. So even though it requires more space, you're getting more mushroom per block, and that kind of balances that in the square footage of your farm. So one of my favorite benefits of lion's mane mushroom is that it has a really good shelf life. If you store it properly in a cooler, it'll be fresh for 2 weeks or sometimes even up to 4 weeks, depending on if you pick it at the ideal stage. So the ideal stage of lion's mane is before it starts to drop its spores, but after it gains those characteristic teeth. It also freeze dries really well, and it also dehydrates really well too. All of these are very good characteristics why I think that lion's mane is a great addition to any mushroom farm and is one of the reasons why it's so popular today. One of the reasons why I like my strain, besides the history with it, so I got this strain from my mentor about a decade ago, and he had been growing it for about a decade up until that point. And it's a very special strain. It's highly adaptable to a lot of different substrates. So I've grown it on about 5 or 6 different types of hardwood, from cottonwood, oak, maple, even walnut. It ended up fruiting on, which I don't recommend because it didn't have as good yields, but it did grow on a lot of different substrates. Also, it has a very dense mushroom and the characteristic teeth that are associated with lion's mane. I call it Niagara Falls lion's mane because that's where it originated, but I do get a lot of requests from chefs because typically if a lion's mane mushroom is dense, it's not gonna have long teeth, or if you get a really beautiful looking lion's mane, they're often not as dense and they shrink down when the chefs cook them. So this Niagara Falls lion's mane strain is a very good blend between density and teeth, and you can find it in the description below.